Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. But before we get into it, just a couple things I want to mention first, all beforehand. For starters, today I was also going to review All In, but I decided that we're going to save that for tomorrow alongside Tales from the Labyrinth. Um, partially because there are a couple more matches I need to watch from the show. The other reason being, I admittedly am pretty tired. So we're gonna save all out for not all out, all in for tomorrow. And actually, while we're on the subject, our all out predictions are gonna be actually that's gonna be on Saturday. But that's gonna be early Saturday before the actual all out show, of course. But the other thing is that there was something big I missed during my review of Money in the Bank 2024. That came out yesterday, so if you haven't already, go check out that review. I forgot to announce John Cena's retirement announcement. How could I forget? John Cena, one of the GOATs, was someone I grew up watching, officially announced that 2025 will be his last year. And admittedly, let's take a sip of my water. But admittedly, John Cena, of course, not active, like not as part of the active roster. He's been more part timing for the past couple years, but after next year, he's going to call it quits. But the good news is that John Cena is going to be pretty much there all throughout 2025. He mentioned, and WrestleMania is going to be his last WrestleMania, but he's going to be there all pretty much throughout 2025. So John Cena finally calling it a career, finally calling it quits. Has the last time is now shirt. Surprisingly, as a wrestling fan, I don't have a John Cena T-shirt. I guess now will be as good a time as any to get one. But John Cena, the best of times and the worst of times. When it comes to John Cena, but like I said, someone I definitely grew up watching. I couldn't hate him even if they paid me to. I probably could, but anyway. So yeah, John Cena officially calling it a career after next year. So all the hats off, all the props in the world, John Cena. Like I said, at some of the worst of times, but also a lot of the best of times. John Cena giving us a lot of great moments and great memories throughout the years. Someone who almost got cut. It's crazy to think that John Cena almost like was cut. Had it not be for Stephanie Man hearing him rap, then we might not have John Cena, the legend that we have today. So all the props in the world to John Cena finally calling it a career, at least in terms of wrestling. But nevertheless, with all that out of the way, it's time to hand out the party invites, bust out the streamers, turn up the music, and hope to God your neighbors don't call the police, because it's time to review the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam, of 2024. So as always, I'm not professional wrestling reviewer, not a professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and whoo, baby. Maybe it's recency bias talking. It very well could be, but this SummerSlam, I'd go as far as say this SummerSlam might be an all timer. Like this SummerSlam was fantastic. Greatest SummerSlam of all time. I don't think so, but it's definitely gotta be up there. Like just a lot of really, really, really great stuff on the show. So if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. But if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I like and dislike about the matches and the show as a whole, and we're going to go match by match. Starting off with the Women's World Championship match as Liv Morgan defended against Mommy Rhea Ripley, who was accompanied by Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Or was she? Because the story going into this is that Dom almost gave in until Rhea Ripley came back. Now Rhea Ripley's gunning for her title again. and Dom has pledged his loyalty to Rhea Ripley, at least until it came to Showtime, because Dom eventually turns on Rhea Ripley and joins up with Liv Morgan. After all, gives her a big old smooch. So Liv and Dom are the new power couple essentially in WWE. At least that's the moniker they've given themselves. But the match itself, I think, was really good. Like Rhea, another story he threw out besides what happens with Dom is that Rhea really hurts her shoulder. She has to pop it back into place. Not even the first member of the Judgment Day who's had to pop their shoulder back into place at a SummerSlam for the world title, like facing the world title match. And that's something they brought up. Obviously, Finn Balor, and we'll get to him. But that was one of the other major stories. But otherwise, Liv trying to introduce the chair, and then wanting to use it. Rhea commandeers a chair from her, tries to use it herself. Dom stops her, tries to remind her not to use the chair or else she'll get disqualified. And then Dom slides the chair over to Liv, and the turn falls through from there as Dom has the referee distracted. So, Dom turning on Liv Morgan. Ooh, that dirty Dom's a dirty two-timer. And it's crazy. The Eddie Guerrero comparisons are already there. And this just adds to it even more. How Dom he essentially on Rhea. So I guess in canon they were a couple. Admittedly, their kind of relationship was a bit. It was a bit interesting, kind of the dynamic of the relationship, and that's something they point out in commentary, and that was kind of the whole point. Pretty much that Dom was getting choked out by Rhea and eventually started to like it. But Liv bought him chicken tendies. He's priorities, man, priorities. But Dom essentially going with Liv here, and so we'll get to it more. But yeah, so Liv holds on to the title there, and her and Dom are now a couple, at least in kayfabe. But next up, in the rematch from Money in the Bank, once again for the Intercontinental Championship, Braun Breaker seeks once again to take the Intercontinental Championship from Sami Zayn. Now, this is the match that a lot of people thought was going to be the triple threat between Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn, and Ilya Dragunov, but for some reason they decided not to go through with the triple threat route. Instead going the one-on-one again. And so, okay. Hey, but as for this match, between this match and the match of Money in the Bank, as to which one I prefer more, admittedly, it's kind of, I think it is kind of in the middle because as on one hand, Braun wins this one, so Braun is your new Intercontinental Champion, of course. But the other thing is, this match is much, much shorter. This match compared to the match of Money in the Bank, this match only clocks in about 5 minutes. And it's not quite a glorified squash, but Braun definitely a lot more hasty to beat Sami here, which I guess makes sense because he came up short last time, so wanting to get it over with more quickly. Meanwhile, their match at Money in the Bank was 13 minutes. So wow, they shaved off 8 minutes. Taking that to account, this one did feel a little. Bit shorter and a bit more to the point. And I imagine it was more so to get Braun over and to really establish him as dominant as he captures the Intercontinental Championship. But both guys are capable of putting on a long match, but sadly we didn't really get it here. But nevertheless, Braun picking up the win. And you know what? I think I probably will go with. Um, yeah, I think we'll go with their match in the Money in the Bank as me preferring it just a smidge more. Like the thing is I get the point, I get the idea, and I guess the match at Money in the Bank truly was kind of a litmus test. Like, hey, how badly do people want to see Braun break his Intercontinental Championship? And it turns out, pretty badly. Oh, so I guess as this was the follow through, so I guess in that regard, perhaps it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm having a bit of a longer match. I think made things a bit more interesting. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm alone on that. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, Braun's New York Continental Champion. But Sammy's gonna do just fine because it looks like now he's entering in the into a world title program with Gunther. At least at time of recording. Now they're teasing Gunther versus Sammy, perhaps at Bad Blood. But Gunther, Survivor Series opponent, and seeks to be interesting. And find out more about it this Saturday on System Shock Radio. Oh, but next up on the card at scroll back down because I went over to the Money in the Bank card. But next up for the United States Championship, Logan Paul all defends against the megastar with everybody saying L.A. Knight. Yeah, so again, I mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. And we're just purely describing Logan Paul the character, not like Logan Paul the person. When it comes to his, that being said, Logan does come out with Machine Gun Kelly. L.A. Knight comes out with Logan's Prime Truck, which I guess he had stolen on SmackDown on brought it back, but first cracked the window. Knight, hey, what are you doing, man? And you're doing it in the wrong order. You're supposed to crack the vehicle before, and then you lead up to the big match. You're supposed to crack like the vehicle and smash the vehicle on like Raw or SmackDown or something before the big match. Come on, LA Knight, get with the program. But nevertheless, LA Knight does smash up the Prime Truck. As for this match, really good between these two. Quite a bit of action, even from like the jump. Them pretty much fighting each other, or pretty much from Jump Street. Logan jumping LA Knight during his entrance, including Logan hitting a beautiful like springboard or a moonsault off the ropes. And LA Knight with like almost a very kind of snug, almost scary looking suplex off the top. But the other big thing is that even in his hometown, because we are, of course, in Cleveland Brown Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. But even there, Logan being booed heavily, LA Knight being cheered heavily. I think it's a combination of what Logan Paul I kind of been getting up to. Combination of that and just the popularity of LA Knight. But it was interesting to the point where even when he hits the aforementioned springboard moonsault, he gets a "you still suck" chant, which they do when they don't like someone, even though they hit a cool move, which I will acknowledge. It's definitely a cool move for Logan there, but LA Knight ultimately getting the win and even surviving a shot with the not Hux even, but LA Knight finally getting his due at least on the main roster. They bring up his first title win, technically not the truth, but they should clarify his first title win, his first singles title win on the main roster. Or the only other title that he had won in WWE previously was the $1 Million Championship in NXT during his feud with Cameron Grimes. But LA Knight, again, the big one here. This is a moment that a lot of people had wanted for LA Knight for quite some time, myself included. Like still over like Rover and coming so close at times, whether it be Money in the Bank or his world title matches against like Roman, um, whether at Crown Jewel or at the Rumble in the Fatal Four Way. But LA Knight finally getting his time in the sun and congrats to LA Knight, and I can't wait to see what he is able to do as U.S. champion, and that is not an insult. That is just a fact of life. But next up, more titles on the line as Bayley defends the WWE Women's Championship against the irresistible force Nia Jax. So, of course, Nia Jax won Queen of the Ring at King of the Ring, and so because of that, Nia Jax got a shot at the WWE Women's Championship here, and meanwhile they are kind of playing up on Nia Jax's previous reputation of injuring people, kind of playing that into storyline and leading into this match here. But another kind of story thread at another kind of story thread and here is what, if any, will be Tiffany Stratton's involvement. Of course, Tiffany Stratton and one Miss Money in the Bank. Learn about that and more in my Money in the Bank review. If you haven't already, go check that out. Yeah, so Nia Jax seeking to take the title from Bayley here, and a pretty decent match between the two, who ultimately Nia Jax getting the win with with the emphatic sit, hit the bonsai drop. The bonsai drop essentially. He not sure if it has an official name or if it's just bonsai drop. Yeah, it's called the Annihilator. And she actually hit two. This is why I have the wiki here, just in case there's points that I missed, because I usually end up doing so. But hitting Bayley with the two Annihilators, which switching Nia Jax's finisher over to the Annihilator, I think is a great move because it's kind of impact act, and she makes it look brutal. But Nia Jax ultimately picking up the win and becoming the new women's champion. Tiffany Stratton does show up, but it's more so just to distract Bayley, which helps Nia get the win. So. I can't wait to see what even more Nia does as a women's champion going forward. And I know a lot of people definitely were happy, but I definitely were excited about it. Like this second run, I should say, for Nia Jax and WWE, definitely I would say going better than the first. But yeah, so congrats to Nia Jax on the win. But next up in a non-title match, but good old-fashioned Pride, it is on the line, and technically a bracelet. It's a special guest referee match as Drew McIntyre takes on CM Punk, and Seth Rollins is the special guest referee. And one of my points from earlier, or one of the things I kind of alluded to, and I think I did this during my SummerSlam prediction, and actually came true at Bash in Berlin. And obviously we'll talk about Bash in Berlin when we get there. But they actually did call CM Punk the Cult of Personality. So I guess they have indeed called him that. But as for this match, definitely what a match. Like CM Punk still able to go, still able to do his thing, and you could tell healing up really well from his triceps injury. Drew looks like an absolute monster, and the way Seth brought into the mix as well. Both guys hating Seth, not being able to stand Seth Rollins. And essentially, the big story is all three of these guys can't stand each other. There's some for realsies, some for shootsies, but actually shoots and real is the same thing. Some for real, some for some not really. He kind of, I don't know, But anyway, essentially, the story is all three of these guys cannot stand each other, and it's definitely evident throughout the match. Now, admittedly, I think they did go to the well of like them arguing with Seth a bit too much for my liking. Like it plays into the story, of course, and it makes sense. And obviously, them not doing that, I think would have been weird because then it'd be going against the story. They're not gonna be buddy buddy all of a sudden just because Seth Rollins is a special guest referee, but instead having them kind of tangle with and Seth kind of getting the faces of both men. And the bracelet definitely does come into play. Now, a lot of people have criticized like the use of the bracelet, like, oh, they're fighting over a bracelet, they're fighting over jewelry. Why are they fighting over something so useless? And it's more so the internet fans, which the IWC really shouldn't be that big a deal in the first place anyway. But I know it kind of is. I know I shouldn't pay attention to them and feed into them, but sometimes I kind of have to. Somehow, the concept of symbolism has eluded them, and it's not the last time. As we'll see later on when I get to that, but we'll obviously get there when we get there. But the IWC, or at least some members of it, have forgotten the idea of symbolism. The bracelet symbolizes is CM Punk's family, that being his wife AJ and his dog Larry. It's about the symbolism. Now is it a bit goofy? Sure, I guess, but it's also symbolic because Drew McIntyre took the bracelet and thus took essentially CM Punk's family and wanting to destroy his family, and that ultimately playing a part in the downfall of CM Punk in this match. Ultimately, he ties that story. It puts a nice bow on things, even though why did Seth, and this is what ultimately causes it, why did Seth randomly put on the bracelet after picking it up off the ground? Why didn't he just like put it off to the side or put it by like the timekeeper's area and stuff? Why did he put it on? Because and Punk catches him with it. They get into their argument, and Punk nails Seth with the GTS, and pretty solid line where Seth is arguing with Punk at first, it's not always about you, and then Punk nails the GTS and then says to Seth, it might not always be about me, but it's never about you. Jeez, what a burn. But then Drew hitting his low blow and then the Claymore to ultimately put away Punk. So Punk kind of doing what Drew had been doing and letting his emotions get at the best of them. Get the best of it, I should say. So ties in that story of how as much as we, not just the audience, but those in kayfabe want to follow Drew for getting emotional, as emotions get in the way, Punk is kind of guilty of it too, and to an extent, so is Rollins in here. Or like Rollins allows his kind of disdain for Punk and for Drew to somewhat get in the way here. So, tying that into each other, I think was done really well. Both guys definitely put on a solid match, and they did do the Bret Hart spot. They didn't do it the way I expected, where of course the spot I'm alluding to is at Survivor Series 97, where Bret spits in Shawn's face. Shawn's special guest referee, so Shawn nails the Undertaker, but instead things are kind of flopped in reverse. And also shout out to CM Punk for the awesome Bret Hart gear, while I'm on the subject, but that being Seth almost nailing Punk with it after Drew kind of getting in Rollins' face after Rollins took the chair from Drew. So kind of reversed how they did it, but McIntyre does ultimately pick up the win. So how will things fare as they rematch at Bash in Berlin? We will find out when we get there. But next up for the World Championship in the semi-main event for the World Heavyweight Championship, El Campeon del Mundo defends against the ring general Gunther. Or he's just called El Campeon, but I add the Del Mundo there, the champion of the world. Well, I'm still not sure how to say heavyweight in Spanish, of course, but nevertheless, this feud who started at first with Gunther winning King of the Ring and winning the King of the Ring tournament, but then kind of and I like how the King and Queen of the Ring feuds heading into SummerSlam, both for their respective titles, of course. There's kind of start off one way, kind of just this person's facing because it's King of the Ring or Queen of the Ring, and then kind of morphed into their own thing. Nia Jax and Bayley kind of play on their previous history, but Gunther and Damien's feud is essentially classism. Gunther calling Damien street trash, bringing up how Damien was homeless and that and how and like Gunther were essentially bred for success, and Damian Priest trying to fight back essentially against those allegations. But earlier or on before then, Damien is looking for Dom after he turned on Rhea, and Finn says hadn't seen him. And so Damien and apologized for snapping at Finn, and Finn says that I know you don't want me getting involved in your match, but I'm gonna have your back. And will that be the case? We'll find out. But as for the match between Damien Priest and Gunther, definitely tore the house down. Damien responding with chops of his own against Gunther's chops, and making Gunther's chest bleed. I think was really cool. When both men just brought it. Like two big guys who were able to slug, but are also very athletic. It signed me up. And both guys definitely capable of putting on a good match, and both guys definitely capable of putting on a good match against each other. But the other major story is Finn Balor does come out and helps Gunther. That's right. Hey, Balor, as Priest takes down Gunther, Balor puts Gunther's leg on the rope so the referee can see, and the face that Balor makes afterward is that's meme material, and some people have already turned it into a meme. See, the IWC isn't always bad, but that face definitely was meme material, and it's pretty hilarious how Finn takes Gunther's leg, puts it on the rope, and then goes immediately into the snarl on to Damian Priest. He's in Priest watching the replay and getting pretty mad at Balor, but still having to contend with Gunther as Gunther locks in sleeper, but that Priest escapes at first and then just guzzles Finn, goes to choke him and stuff, but Gunther grabs him and ultimately puts him to sleep to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. So, two Judgment Day betrayals in the same night. Impressive, essentially. So, at this point, of course, there's Damien and Rhea are now officially out of Judgment Day. They've become the Terror Twins, and we'll get more into their story when we get to Bash in Berlin. But as for this match, really great encounter. Damien more than holding his own against the ring general. Damien looked good in defeat, and Gunther looked obviously strong in his victory. And even though Gunther's reign as world champion has more or less just begun, I can't wait to see how it continues to unfold. Gunther definitely brought the Intercontinental Championship to new heights, and I just know he's going to do the same with the World Heavyweight Championship. But speaking of World Championship, in your main event, an undisputed championship, undisputed W Championship, Bloodline rules. How will the American Nightmare overcome these odds as he defends the undisputed W Championship against the new Tribal Chief in Solo Sikoa? Right off the bat, when it comes to Cody's entrance, they definitely milked the crap out of it, having him come from his tour bus and then walk Pharaoh over. Now, they announced that this would be Pharaoh's last time walking down with Cody. And the thing is, I was actually watching SummerSlam with my dad, and we both feared the worst. Like when they said that, he thought poor Pharaoh was gonna be crossing the Rainbow Bridge, but no, it's just because Pharaoh is older. He's gonna become more like at home dog. He's not gonna be traveling with Cody as much. He's pretty much gonna be having Pharaoh rest and relax at home instead of like traveling with Cody. And Pharaoh's been there for a lot of Cody's big moments in WWE and in AEW. Pharaoh definitely a good boy who definitely deserves a good rest. But thankfully, it's not the rest that we thought it was going to be. But that's second time this year also that Cody has had to. Well, I should say second time Cody's participating in Bloodline Rules. The first was going after the W Championship at WrestleMania, and then now defending the championship against Solo at WrestleMania at SummerSlam. That is, but yeah, so pretty solid encounter for the most part between the two. Who Solo kind of doing his thing, Cody doing his thing, but then of course the Bloodline shows up, and then Kevin Owens and Randy Orton attempt to try to take care of that, but ultimately, Jacob Fatu, who taking out Cody, especially with the dive off the top rope through the announce table, and hurts his leg, and you can hear like Jacob Fatu screaming in pain, and we feared the worst, and sure enough, he was in boot. So Jacob Fatu was hurt his leg. He's better now, thankfully. Thankfully he didn't miss too much time. I don't even think he really missed any time at all. He was still kind of there. He was just walking around with the boot. So I'm glad it wasn't super serious. If Jacob Fatu had to sustain a serious injury, that probably would have thrown a huge wrench in the works and would have made us sad. And of course, Botchaloa strikes again. Tongaloa came and throw Cody Rhodes into the corner correctly. He misses and hits the ropes right next to the turnbuckle before he hits the turnbuckle. I I don't know. I'm inclined to think he's doing it on purpose. A part of me wants to think he's doing it on purpose because there's no way someone is able to screw up this much. Yes, botches happen. Yes, they're a part of wrestling. There's a whole channel, a whole series dedicated to it, Botchamania. But not Tamatonga. Tamatonga's fine. Tongaloa. What are we gonna do with you, buddy? What are we gonna do with you? But ultimately, ultimately, they're kind of taken out and they're off to the side. Meanwhile, Cody and Solo are down in the ring, hanging. Cody hits the Cody cutter, and both men are laying down, and then the music. The music hits. It's as Roman Reigns makes his return. The crowd goes nuts. We have been praying for Roman Reigns' return at SummerSlam, and I know they were trying to say he was scheduled for the SmackDown before SummerSlam. I'm not sure if that was just a rumor or if that was the original plan, but if that was the original plan, then I'm glad they held out to SummerSlam because it made for a much bigger moment. Roman Reigns came out OTC shirt, came out with pretty much the remix of his theme that they used at WrestleMania 40. He came out, rushed into the ring, and immediately he Superman punched and speared Solo Sikoa. That's what you get for talking your crap, boy. But the thing I will say about it, or actually, I'll finish up the match here. That had being Cody nailing one more crossroads on Solo, giving the nod to Roman Reigns. The show respect between the two former combatants as Cody retained the title here. Excuse me. I will say, awesome moment. Definitely the cherry on top to what's already been a phenomenal show. Just having that awesome moment in the end of Roman coming back and helping out Cody, kind of bringing things full circle from WrestleMania. Because Cody was the one to beat Roman, Roman gives the show of respect to Cody. He the only thing, and I guess it's more of a nitpick, is I wish they would have milked it a bit more. Like, have Roman come in and march down to the ring, have him stare at Solo, have him stare at Cody, and then go to attack Solo. Oh, the only reason I would say for that is because the moment where he attacked Solo didn't quite get the pop that I think it could have and should have had, because I think a lot of people were still mentally processing, like, holy crap, Roman's here, they didn't really register quite that Roman had attacked Solo, so it didn't it still got pop. It still got a decent sized pop, but it would have probably gotten an even bigger pop had they milked it just a little bit more. I'm not saying drag it out all the way, but milk it a little bit. Have Roman show up, have the pop die down a little bit. It's not gonna dissipate entirely because people are so excited that Roman's there, and then have Roman and attack Solo, and the pop will just spike right back up again. Like that's more so just me. Like I said, it's kind of a nitpick. It was still a really awesome moment, and Cody gets the win, like, to finish off a really solid SummerSlam. And Roman Reigns with the OTC shirt, and we figured out, of course, what it means. We were trying to figure out what OTC, what does that mean? Turns out that means Original Tribal Chief, which it's you kind of figured, but yeah. So really awesome SummerSlam, man. Like I said, might be an all timer. The strongest and weakest match of the night. The strongest, I definitely got to give it to the two world title matches. The rest of the show was pretty decent, pretty solid, but the two world title matches at the end definitely delivered. Or I would say Gunther Damian Priest more so for the action and to extend the story. Solo Cody more so for the story. For the weakest match, I'll probably have to go with the Intercontinental Championship match. Only because it's the shortest and it's definitely more. It's almost glorified squash territory. He at least for me, but nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you see as soon as it drops. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on SummerSlam and my review of SummerSlam. Do you like SummerSlam? Do you like my review of SummerSlam? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.